I'm all for Christmas, all the happy smiles and the wishes. And I want it all from the lights to the mistletoe. Tell me one thing, is there anything that you're missing? I will keep you
Hi
warm
friends,
as
welcome to Love and Life's Journey DIY. Thank you so much for watching. If you are new here, my name is Chantel and I love to do Dollar Tree DIYs and DIYs on a budget. In today's video, we are going to be doing all kinds of DIYs using these Dollar Tree Christmas trees. And I'm so excited for these because there are so many variations and different things you can do with these, and they're super budget friendly. So let's jump in and get started crafting with these Christmas trees.
This project is inspired by this picture I found on Facebook of what looks to be a live pine snowflake wreath, and I'm going to recreate it using 6 of the Dollar Tree Christmas trees. To embellish my wreath, I'm going to be using some pine cones as well as some red berries. I'm going to use some zip ties from Dollar Tree, and I'll be using some wide wired ribbon. This is some that I picked up at Walmart. You can also get some great deals at Hobby Lobby. Or I even picked this up at Costco last year. And of course, you can always get wired ribbon at Dollar Tree as well. I'm going to take all my trees out of the boxes and remove the little plastic ends off of those because I won't be using those stands, although I am going to keep them because I'm trying to figure out the DIY to do with them. If you've made something with those stands from the Christmas trees, let me know. I'd love to hear about it. I'm going to take 2 of the trees and place them together with the bottoms facing each other like you see here. Then I'm going to take 3 zip ties and just zip tie those together as tightly as possible. I'm using some wire cutters to trim off the ends of those zip ties, and then I'm going to repeat this 2 more times so that I have 3 bundles of the Christmas trees. Next, I'm going to position my bundles in the shape of my snowflakes. I'm going to make kind of an X shape and then put the third one across the top. Then I'm going to use zip ties to secure these all together as tightly as possible. There will still be a little bit of movement in these, and that's fine. We're going to take care of that in a little bit, but you just want to get those zip ties as tight as possible and then trim off the ends. Now I'm going to fluff out all of my Christmas trees to start filling out this wreath. Some of the tops of my trees were a little bit long, so I just folded them over. You could also trim them off with the wire cutters if you prefer. If you need a budget friendly idea for a gift for a crafter or for something to put on your wish list, this little crafting vacuum is the best. I'll put the link in the description box below. Next, I'm going to take my ribbon and I'm going to make a bow that is going to go in the center of my snowflake. So I'm just measuring about how big I want those loops to be, and then I'm going to loop my ribbon back and forth. Now, this ribbon is only patterned on one side, so I'm twisting it every time before I make another loop. And I'm just going to loop it back and forth until I have as many loops as I want, and then I'll tie that off using some floral wire. Then I'm going to fluff up my bow, and this is why you want to use wired ribbon because it's so much easier to shape your bow and have it hold the shape, and it just looks so much nicer. I decided that I didn't want any long ribbon tails hanging down from my bow. So I trimmed those off, and then I'm just going to use those long wires on the back of the bow that I use to hold the bow together. And I'll just push that through the center and tie it off on the back side of my wreath. So I have a tendency to get ahead of myself when I craft, and I should have done this next step before putting my bow on, but I didn't. So I would recommend maybe you do it. But I'm going to take some chalk paint, just some white paint, acrylic craft paint will work, and I'm going to lightly brush all over my greenery to give it kind of a little bit of a flocked look. And so if the bow isn't there, then you don't have to worry about getting paint on your bow. But, I made it work. Once that white paint is dry, I'm going to place some pine cones randomly in my wreath. And then I'm also going to add some of the red berries. I just cut my stem of berries apart and just took one stem, but it adds a lot of color, and I think this looks really pretty. I'm going to flip my wreath over, and because I don't want these to be moving around quite as much, I'm going to just put a bunch of hot glue all around and let that set up, and that's going to really make this sturdy. And then I'm going to take a couple of the branches from one of the trees and just make a loop so that I can hang it. And here's what it looks like on my front door, and I think it is really pretty. I like that it's a little bit different than just your traditional wreath. For this project, I am going to be using 8 of these little trees from Dollar Tree. I'll also be using a couple different kinds of greenery that I had on hand. You can pick these up at Walmart or Dollar Tree or a craft store. And then I'm going to be using some of these wired garland ties that I got from Dollar Tree. Going to use some thin wire for this. You can also use zip ties. I'm going to be using a little bit of fishing line as well as some command hooks. And I'm going to be using one of these star ornaments that I got from Dollar Tree. I'm going to start by taking 2 of my trees and placing them end to end with the bottoms of the trees together. Then I'll take a fairly long piece of wire and just wrap that around those ends to secure this tightly. And I'm also going to add a little bit of hot glue just to help hold that all together. And then I'm going to fold over a couple of the branches that are toward the center to kind of hide that middle part. And I'm going to take some small pieces off of my other types of greenery, and I'm going to just mix those in to my pine branches to just give it a little bit different texture and fill it up a little bit. I really like adding these different styles of leaves in with this. I just think it elevates it and it gives it some more depth. I'm going to do the exact same thing with 2 more trees, but this time I'm going to overlap them just a little bit more so that they are shorter than the first set that I made. For my next one, I'm just going to use one tree and I am going to fold some of the bottom branches down around that metal uh, tree trunk, so to speak. I'm also going to take one of the branches and I'm going to glue it in the end so that it extends out a little bit more, just so it helps the shape of this. And then I'm going to kind of divide my branches in half, folding half of them to the left and half of them to the right. And then I'll add some of the other greenery to these as well. I'm going to take another tree and basically I'm going to do the same thing. However, this time I'm not going to extend the end on that one side by putting a branch in the end. I'm just going to divide the branches in the center and fold half to the left and half to the right. And then I'm going to trim off some of those longer ones like you see there on the right side so that this one will be a little shorter than the last one I made. And then I did take some of the pieces that I trimmed off and I glued them toward the center to make this just a little bit more full. And then I'll glue a couple pieces of my other greenery onto this one too. Okay, for this part, I'm going to recommend that you do as I say and not as I do. So, what I did was I took my little star ornament and then I took some of the garland ties and glued them to the back of this to make my top branches for my tree. But once I had this all done, I really didn't like it that much. So, I recommend still doing the same thing, but just leave the star off. So you're just going to take some of your ties and put them together to make a small piece for your top of your tree. And we're going to use the star separately. So, um, sorry that if that's confusing. Sometimes you have a vision in your mind, and once you get it all completed, it doesn't quite look how you want, and that was the case with this. So I'm showing you how I originally did it, but then at the end, I'll show you how I changed it up, and I think that you'll agree it looks better, but we'll see what you think. So when I did it the first time, I added the greenery to the back of my star, and then I added my other pieces of greenery in as well, so that I had a small little branch for the top of my tree. To attach my tree to my wall, I just measured where I wanted it to go and made some marks and just tried to space everything out evenly. I wanted to use little command hooks to hang this up on the wall, and I actually had bought some that were too small, and then I had some that were an off brand and they weren't really working. I did get it hung up, but I did end up actually switching to some small nails to hang it up. So just kind of whatever works for you. But you can see here, I'm just kind of measuring as I go so that I'm getting the spacing right and adding these layers to my wall so I can have a cute little wall tree. I did make this just 5 layers tall, so to speak. You could make it bigger if you wanted to by maybe adding more trees to make the bottom ones wider, or you could make it even just a small little one. So it's pretty customizable to whatever space that you want to put it in. But the great thing is it doesn't take up a bunch of floor space. So you can see here how that top looked with the star on it, and it just didn't quite look right. So I ended up changing it and putting the star just up above by itself. And then I added some ornaments to this, and these are just Dollar Tree ornaments. You could also add lights if you want. So here you can see what it looks like with the star up above by itself. I really think it just completes the tree. It gives it the shape that it needs, and I like it a lot better. Let me know in the comments what you think, which way you like it, and if you like this project or not, and what you think about it. I also want to show you another way to use these same bundles of trees to make a really pretty wall decor piece. So I'm just going to take one of these that I've put the two trees together and added the other greenery to it. And then I'm just going to add some little red berries to this and add a bow. And I'm just using one of these pre-made bows that I got from Dollar Tree. And it just looks so cute to hang over a picture or on your wall or hang up above a doorway.
Well, I'm all for Christmas, all the happy smiles and the wishes. And I want it all from the lights to the mistletoe. Tell me one thing, is there anything that you're missing? I will keep.
For this project, I'm just going to be using one of these Dollar Tree trees. Then I'm also going to be using one of these canvas boards. The one I am using is 11 by 14 inches. Some other items I will be using are some Mod Podge, some faux snow, some LED string lights, some white craft paint or chalk paint, and this little planter from Dollar Tree that I cut in half. I'm also going to be using some small little pine cones as well as some little berries. So the little trees come with a little plastic stand. I just wanted to show you what that looks like. They're a pretty good sturdy stand, but I'm not going to be using that for this project, so I'm just going to remove that and set it aside. Then I'm going to fluff out my little tree, and I'm going to make this look like half a tree actually. So when I fluff it out, I'm going to pull all of the branches to one side so that it's flat on the back because I'm going to be attaching it to my canvas board. So this is kind of what it's going to look like. And when I fluffed it out, I kind of made the branches go every which way. I think that makes it look a little bit more natural. But you can see here it's flat on the back, so that way it will sit nicely on the canvas. Next, I'm going to take some Mod Podge and a small paintbrush, and then I'm just going to dab some dots of Mod Podge around on the canvas to kind of go around the tree. So I'm just going to go around the outside edge of the canvas with this, and I'm just kind of making some little blobs, but not making it like too globby, just a little bit so that I have enough on there to sprinkle some of that faux snow on and have it stick to it. I just lightly patted it down and then shook off the excess. Now I'm going to attach my tree using some hot glue. I'll just go down the back side along the trunk of the tree, and then I'll place it down in the center of the canvas. Actually, I got mine just a tad bit off center, but I think it's going to be fine. Since I like the snowy or flocked look, I'm going to add some white paint to my tree and just kind of tone down that green a little bit and give it more of a wintry look. While the paint on the tree is drying, I'm going to take my little half pot and I'm going to use a little brown paint and a dry brush and just brush on some brown paint to make this look a little bit more rustic. I'm going to use my little pine cones to add to this tree. I'm going for a little bit more natural look. You could also use something like the little styrofoam ball vase filler that they have at Dollar Tree to look like ornaments or just little miniature ornaments on the tree. So you can decorate it however you want. I'm just using some pine cones and these pretty frosty berries. And I decided since my tree had snow on it, that my pine cones and my berries should have a little bit of snow on them as well. So I added just a little bit of white paint to those. So now I'm going to take my little pot, and I did decide to also add a little bit of white paint to it as well. So I'm going to lightly dry brush some white paint on it just to kind of give it a little bit more dimension and have it blend in a little bit more. Then I'm going to take my hot glue gun and just put a bead of glue around the cut edges of that pot and glue it to the canvas right over the base of the tree. Now I'm going to take some more Mod Podge and just paint some along the bottom edge of the canvas on both sides of that pot, just to make it look like it's kind of sitting in the snow. And of course, I'll add a little bit of that faux snow on top of the Mod Podge just to give it that sparkly, fresh snow look. Then I'm going to dab some Mod Podge randomly on my tree and sprinkle some of the faux snow on that so that it has more of that kind of sparkly look as well. And I wish that it showed up better on camera, but adding the faux snow to the tree in different places really does add a lot to this. It gives it kind of that frosty, crystal look, and I think it just brings out the kind of snowy feel of this project. I'm using one string of the little wire LED lights from Dollar Tree. These are the perfect size for this project, and the little battery pack fits perfectly inside the planter, and you never even know it's there, and yet it's still easy to access to turn it off and on. And then I'm just going to wind my lights up the tree and kind of space them out. And this just really makes the tree shine, and the lights kind of sparkle off of that faux snow and gives it just the look that I was hoping for. And then I had this little styrofoam star that had the gold and white glitter on it. So I decided to put that on the top of my tree. It's the perfect finishing touch. And I'm going to add this sawtooth hanger to the back of my canvas board so that this can be hung up on the wall, or you could set it up on a shelf, but at least this way you have the option. And I'm just using hot glue to glue this on, and it's pretty strong because I'm using the Gorilla Hot Glue, and so I think it will hold just fine. I actually really like how the tree sticks up above the canvas. I think that just gives it more interest. And my husband really loves this, and he's already claimed it for his office for Christmas time. For this project, I will be using two of the small Christmas trees, one of the car washing cloths, just a small glass jar, and these small poinsettia flowers and this flocked fern greenery, all from Dollar Tree. I'm going to fluff out both of my Christmas trees, just like I did for the last project, where I basically make two halves of a Christmas tree. This is going to give me a fuller tree because I'm just using both trees to make a single tree. I'm going to remove the little plastic end off of one of the trees, but leave it on the other one just because I think it will help stabilize the tree when I put this project together. And I'm going to twist the branches at the top of the tree around each other to hold those together, and then twist a couple branches together around at the bottom around the middle of the tree to keep it all together. Then I figured out kind of how large I needed my white cloth to go around the tree and then to go inside the jar. I want this to sit tightly inside the jar so it kind of holds the tree up nice and straight. So I wanted to make sure I had enough cloth that it fit really tight in there. So now I'm going to pull some of my flowers, the little poinsettias, off of the stem, and then I'm also going to uh, pull apart or cut apart the little flocked ferns and just place them randomly around the tree. I really like these ferns. I like the way they kind of stick out of the tree, and it's a little bit different than just decorating it with ornaments. Once I'm happy with the placement, then I will go ahead and use a little bit of hot glue to secure them to the tree. To finish this off, I'm going to use this tulle ribbon with the little white snowflakes in it, and I'm going to just tie this around the neck of my little jar. You could also add lights to this or any other kind of decorations that you wanted to, but this just makes such a really pretty tabletop tree. I'm going to be using some of these pine garland ties and one of the Dollar Tree Christmas trees to make a little winter greenery piece that can be left out after Christmas, and so it's not really going to look like a Christmas tree. That's one thing that I kind of miss when I put away all of my Christmas things is all of the greenery, because I have so much more of that in the house at Christmas time. So this is going to help add to my winter decor. I'm just using the pine garland ties to fill in some of the more sparse areas of the tree, and this is just going to give it a little fuller look. And you can see just how much this changes the look of it just by adding these. And one tip when using these is to twist them before you use them, because that kind of fluffs them up instead of having them just be flat. I'm not going to be using the stand, so I'm going to remove that little plastic piece on the end, and then I'm going to take some spray chalk paint, and I picked this up at Walmart, and I am going to spray paint the tree. And I apologize for the bad video footage here. The light bulb in the garage burned out, and so I had minimal light to work with, but it is what it is. I got it spray painted. I am using a heavy coat of spray paint on this, and I actually sprayed down from the top on the branches. Then I sprayed straight into the tree, and then I held the tree upside down and sprayed the bottoms as well, because I want this to look really snowy. So here's what my little tree looks like after all of the snow is on it. And I missed a few places, but that's fine because I want some of the greenery to show through, but I did want it to look really snowy. So you can use any type of container for your tree. I am using this white ceramic jar that actually I received with a bouquet of flowers in it. I think it's going to be perfect for this. Apparently my battery died and I didn't get the footage of me putting the tree into the jar, but I just used some floral foam, put that in the jar, and then I pushed my tree down inside of that. And I am going to be adding these little cotton pods to the tree. These are some that I picked up at Dollar Tree. They were in like a little package of 4 for $1, and you can get them that way, or you can even find them on some of their like floral stems have cotton pods on them. So I just used these and glued a few around the tree. Then I'm going to make a bow using the wired ribbon, and that is going to get added to the top of my tree. I used some floral wire just to secure my bow, and that way I could use that same wire to attach it to the top of the tree. And I did leave long tails on my bow so that I could have that kind of cascading down the tree. So for this next project, I will be using 2 of these. I will also be using 6 ornaments out of this package of plastic round ornaments from Dollar Tree. There are 12 in a package. And since I'm going to be using this outside, I found this ribbon. It's a wired ribbon, but it's a velvet on one side, and it has kind of a vinyl backing, sort of, on the back that I think will make this a little bit more weather resistant. And then I'll also be using some zip ties from Dollar Tree to hold this all together. So the first thing I'm going to do is prepare my ornaments using some clear matte sealer, or you could use glossy because they're shiny, but just a sealer to help protect and keep the paint and color on these ornaments. So I rigged up this wire in my garage so that I could just hang them all from it, and then I sprayed them with about 4 coats of these, letting it dry in between each coat. So I'm going to be making a swag with these. You can hang this on your front door. I'm planning to hang mine from the lights on the front of our garage. But what I'm going to do is take the trees and I'm going to remove the little plastic pieces and the little base on the tree, and then I'm going to just spread out all of the branches. And when I do this, I'm going to make them so they are flat on one side, so I'm only kind of fluffing up the branches on one side. And as you can see, if you wanted to use these as a little Christmas tree, they are super sparse, so you can use this same technique to make them fuller. Even if you're wanting to use them just as a little Christmas tree, you can put them together like this and make them fuller. However, I am going to keep mine flat on one side, and I'm going to lay one on top of the other, and then just fluff them all up. And then I'm going to use some of my zip ties. Yes, that's what those are called. I'm going to use some zip ties to hold these together. So I'm going to use several on the end, and then several in the middle, just to hold them nice and tight together. Since I'm still waiting for my ornaments to be completely dry, I am going to take my ribbon and make a bow with it. And so this is how I make a bow when the ribbon is not the same on both sides. So really it's like a one-sided ribbon. I decide how big I want my loops to be, and then I twist it in the middle so that my right side is on the outside every time I make a loop. And this ribbon is a little bit hard to work with just because it's thicker and it doesn't want to fold or as well as some other ribbons, but I really think this is going to work better for outdoors. Then I will take a little zip tie and put that through the center and just tighten it and secure that bow. And then I'm going to go ahead and attach the bow using a zip tie or two. And I did wrap the zip tie kind of around the other zip ties and in between them and in between the two posts for the trees, just to make it nice and secure. Now that the sealer on my ornaments is dry, I am going to take the little tops off of all of the ornaments because they want to come off fairly easily anyway, and so I am going to actually glue them on using some E6000 and just a little dab of hot glue to hold it on while the E6000 is drying. This is going to give it a really strong bond, and then they will stay on much better. So now I'm going to arrange my ornaments and just kind of get an idea of where I want to place them. I'm actually only using 6 ornaments per swag, so one package of these ornaments will do 2 of these swags, which is perfect because I'm going to make 2, one for each side of my garage. Now that I have a pretty good idea of where I want to place the ornaments, I am going to put a zip tie through the top of each ornament, and I'm going to zip tie these onto the greenery. And again, you don't want to use hot glue for this because it will just come apart really quickly in the cold and the wind. So I think zip ties is a much better way to go to help it hold up in the weather. And once I have all of those ornaments zip tied on, I'm going to use some wire cutters or some heavy scissors and just snip off the ends of those zip ties. And I just added another zip tie in a loop on the back at the top to use as a hanger. Here it is hanging on an interior door, and I will also show you what it looks like hanging outside from the light by my garage door. If you are new to my channel, I am so glad you're here. I would love it if you'd stick around by hitting that subscribe button. I do a lot of Dollar Tree DIYs and DIYs on a budget here on this channel. So if you like those types of things, be sure to hit that subscribe button and also the bell to set your notifications so YouTube will notify you when I upload new videos. For the last project, I will be using this little wooden pencil holder that I found at Dollar Tree in the Crafter's Square aisle, as well as one of the Dollar Tree Christmas trees, and some of the pine garland ties. I'll also be using some of this floral foam and some of the twine from the Crafter's Square section of Dollar Tree. This twine is really great when you want something that's a little bit thinner. I really love the look of these wood containers, these pen holders that I found, and they had them in a round shape as well, but the square was perfect for this. And because the wood looks so nice, I didn't want to cover that all up, so I'm just taking a little bit of ivory chalk paint and kind of dry brushing over this and letting a lot of that wood grain show through. And this gives it almost kind of like a white birch wood look. It's really neutral and natural looking. Then I'm going to take my floral foam and I'm just going to measure and see about how big of a piece I need to fit down inside my little box. I'm using a metal ruler to cut my foam. You can use a knife, but this was laying right there and it worked great, so that's what I used. And then I just pushed my foam down inside my box. So now I'm going to take my little Christmas tree, and I'm not going to be using the stand. I'm going to just fluff it out as much as I can, and then I will be adding some of those garland ties into the areas where it's a little bare so that it fills it in a little bit more. Then I'm going to push my tree down inside that foam, and I didn't even glue mine in, it just stayed in fine. And I'll also add a little bit of Spanish moss to the bottom of the tree just to hide that floral foam. Then I'm going to wrap a plastic bag around my little wooden box at the base of the tree, and I'm going to take a little bit of white spray paint and, shooting down from the top, just lightly spray my tree to give it a light dusting of what looks like snow. And you could use spray snow, they do sell it at Dollar Tree. It doesn't stay on as well as paint, so if you want it to stay on and not flake off, I would recommend using paint. Next, I'm going to add some twine to my little box, and you can actually do this before you put your tree in. I don't know why I didn't think of it. You know, sometimes I just get to crafting and I don't really think about the order of how it should go, so sometimes I make things harder on myself. Do any of you guys do that? Anyway, I'm just wrapping it around kind of randomly around the base, around that little box, and then I'm going to tie a bow. And you could use ribbon or anything you want. I'm really going for a very natural look, and so that's why I just wanted to use the twine on this. Now once again, my pine cones were a little bit of an afterthought, so I decided to put them on after I'd already sprayed the snow. If you know you're going to do this, put them on before you spray the paint on, and then it will save you a step again. Like I said, sometimes I cause myself more work. So after I have all the pine cones glued on, I just added a little bit of the ivory chalk paint. I didn't bother taking it out and spray painting them again. This worked just fine, and it was quick and easy. Here it is all finished. I really like how natural and simple it looks, and it would be great to pair with all kinds of Christmas decor, and it would be great also to put out just for winter because it's not specifically Christmas themed. And you will notice that I bent the branches of my tree downward a little bit. This gives it a little bit more of a realistic look, so it looks more like a real pine tree than if you just leave the branches sticking straight out.
Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed all of these DIYs using the Dollar Tree Christmas trees. If you did like this video and these projects, I would love it if you just give me a thumbs up. It really helps me out. And if you haven't subscribed yet, if you'd hit that subscribe button and also set your notifications so that YouTube will notify you when I upload new videos. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe, but it really helps me out. And if you set your notifications, you won't miss out on any future videos. If you enjoy my videos and my projects and you'd like to see more, be sure to click on this video right here for more Christmas DIYs. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a blessed day.